mamuthikire na ihenya mahithania kiria kiamuragire ni magiri athinjwo we oriri ndeto hiu piu iyumiritie igi uria Tash aregete piu na ciana ciene akiuga agetirio igoti-ini riu nake mami wa Betty ni ekite ogwo indi riu ona ti ciana aretia arenda wabici ya ODPP ya the Inspector General wa borithi ahingure uthuthuria wa niki kioragire Betty Bayo amudari na historia ya ndwari na nia makuruhanire na gitumi kia athikwo ateketwo postmortem niki undu uria ugutuma riu athikurio orondokire hau gatoro kandeto ni ati ikinya riri riukite thutha wa video cia kumakania Kwiyumiria haria muratawe muinishiro wa GP na dagitari Nderitu wa Ngui wa Universal Trans Medical Center maraigwika makiheana ndeto ina utiganu. Shiro akiuga ati ni mamenyete murimu wa Betty wiki ta ithatu mbere amu abite gutwarwo thibitari mwena wa Ruiru agicoka akiinuka amu Nderitu augite ati gutiamenyekete arwarite ku. Thutha ucio acokire kuhanyukio AAR utuku ndagika nyinyi thutha wa gutigana na Shiro wa GP kuria akinya akiro ena acute myeloid leukemia. Jenny Muthoni nake akinya kuori akihurira Shiro akimwira methibitari thaa 11 cia rucini. Mona ni ehirwo niguo merire andu a family yake aguthwo ni stroke amu ni auraga thakame mutwe akagia na clot. Undu uria mamu areganite naguo niguo mamutwarire thibitari wa Kenyatta ihinda riri riothe ri Tash ndari hamwe nao acokire kuoneka Betty atangathwo ni mukuu. Shiro Stewart akiuga ati abite gutengera America gwetha mbeca cia urigitani. Woi itanaudhekera video yo leke nguthomere uhoro wigie request ya umuthi ya mami wa Betty akira Director of Public Prosecution a request to institute an inquest to the late Beatrice Wairimu Mbugua alias Betty Bayo. Odenje omeke andenje akiuga ati we act for Joyce Wairimu Mbugua, mother to Beatrice Wairimu Mbugua alias Betty Bayo, deceased, and on whose firm instruction we wish to address you as hereunder. The family has had to go through unbearable pain in accepting the fact that the deceased, who have never exhibited any illnesses, would just die mysteriously. The family suspects an evil hand in the death of the deceased based on the following primary grounds. The deceased did not have a history of any underlying condition. The deceased family was denied an autopsy report. The deceased was hurriedly buried to conceal some facts that may have led to her death. The family was denied medical records and information of what the deceased was being treated for. The family thus express their utmost disdain and thus demands for you to hereby direct the Inspector General to urgently move with speed and institute an inquest into the circumstances surrounding the death of Beatrice Wairimu Mbugua alias Betty Bayo. Na kemodo gwetwo Shiro Stewart ri mweri 12 Novemba thikũ igĩrĩ tu thutha wa mũndũ gwetwo Betty Bayo gukua ri Oyo adekire atiriri. Many people might not recognize you at this point, Tashi. You have always been quiet and humble, not one to show yourself on camera, but I know how deeply you loved your wife. I remember the first time she was admitted to the hospital. You never left her side in that room. We all thought she was anemic, that she just needed more blood and rest to recover. You stayed by her until she was discharged. When your saving ran out, you had no choice but to return to the USA to work. yet your heart remained with her. Sadly, her condition did not get better. It grew worse. The moment you heard, you did not hesitate. You took the next flight back to Kenya, desperate to be by her side again. But that same night you arrived home, Betty was rushed to KNH for admission. It was too late for you to reach her. Ngai mwathani Jesu ati agikorire o hindi mutumia wake agikua. Ino video iria ya uhoro uria urarekerio ni TV47 wigi gikuo giki na ihigisa iria ikirigiceirie.
Days before famous songbird Betty Bayo died at the Kenyatta National Hospital on 10th November, the Chief Executive Officer, Universal Trends Medical and Diagnostic Center, Nderito Wangui, received a phone call from a renowned Kikuyu musician, Daniel Ngaroya, popularly known as Ngaroya.
He told me I needed a blood appeal.
According to Nderito Wangui, Betty had at the time been admitted to a local hospital in Ruiru, but doctors had not yet established a clear diagnosis.
We were doing well, and even Betty was discharged because we didn't have a diagnosis.
On the day that she was discharged, her best friend, renowned gospel musician Shiro wa GP, and her mother would visit the ailing singer at home and spend half of the night with her, even watching a movie. Shiro claims that she stayed by Betty's bedside till she fell into a deep sleep, then informed the nanny that they were leaving but would return early the following morning. Sadly, that morning never came. Shiro recounted to mourners how Betty's desperate fight for her life started just minutes after she left.
Ni kama tu wakati nilala, Betty alianza bleeding na kama alikuwa na bleed kwa kichwa ndani, akaamka, bleeding ikaanza kuanguka na yeye mpaka kwa stairs. Akafungua mlango, msichana wake akamuona juu nilikuwa nimeambia msichana asilale.
The nanny and neighbors rushed Betty Bayo to AAR hospital along Kiambu Road. According to her best friend Shiro wa GP, she received a phone call at around 5 a.m. from another artist, Jane Muthoni, who was at the facility and informed her that Betty was at the hospital waiting for funds to allow admission. Shiro then rushed to the hospital and found Betty admitted but incoherent. She says that 2 days in AAR and Betty's condition was deteriorating, and she immediately decided to inform her family. Just a few hours later, at around 10 a.m., Betty was hit by a stroke. Shiro says the doctors at AAR confirmed the diagnosis as acute myeloid leukemia, and it had festered in Betty's body for years. Nderito Wangui explained that when Betty lost her speech entirely, they decided to transfer her to Kenyatta National Hospital to start her chemotherapy.
Unfortunately, at AAR we could not induce chemotherapy because there are procedures and structures to it.
At Kenyatta National Hospital, Betty was informed that she could not start her chemotherapy.
Immunity had gone too low. If we induce chemotherapy now, we will be actually worsening the situation.
This was the chronological order presented to the public when Betty died, but discrepancies started to arise almost immediately after she was laid to rest. Her friends alleged that the AAR hospital had withheld treatment because Betty did not have enough financial resources. This allegation implied that the hospital denied treatment from Betty, who had left her house gushing blood. This shocking claim sparked widespread criticism online, prompting the hospital to release a statement seeking to clarify the situation. In the statement, AAR Hospital clarified that the deceased was admitted at the facility for 2 days, during which she received emergency and critical care, and her diagnosis confirmed. After her initial stabilization, the family later opted to transfer her to another medical facility for further specialized care. The hospital did not explicitly state what Betty was ailing from, quoting patient confidentiality. After that clarification, online detectives were also quick to note the difference of the narrations between Derito Wangui, the CEO of Universal Trends Medical and Diagnostic Center, and Shiro, Betty's friend. According to the doctor, by the time Betty was being released from the hospital in Ruiru, they did not have a diagnosis. But according to Shiro, they had known Betty's diagnosis for 3 weeks, suggesting that she was discharged from the hospital in Ruiru with a clear diagnosis of leukemia.
Kama wiki mbili tukakuwa na yeye, lakini wakati sasa niliona hiyo ugonjwa imezidi. These different accounts of the same woman in the same hospital have raised serious questions. Were the diagnosis made at the hospital in Ruiru or at the AAR hospital along Kiambu Road? And why do the deceased best friend and the doctor offer conflicting explanations? Questions have also been raised about the whereabouts of Betty Bayo's husband on the night she died and what information he had at the time. During Shiro's account of that night, she makes no mention of Hiram Gitau being at the house. Instead, she credits the neighbors and the nanny for rushing Betty to hospital. Friends of the deceased, including Shiro Stewart, a close friend of Betty, explained that Hiram Gitau had flown back to the United States believing Betty had anemia to secure financial resources and only hurriedly returned to Kenya when she was admitted at AAR hospital. However, this account conflicts Shiro's claim that the doctor had already informed both her and Hiram Gitau that Betty had leukemia, suggesting that her husband may have boarded the flight back to the United States of America, fully aware of his wife's condition. Nimeambiwa na daktari ya kwamba Betty akona anemia na tuliambiwa tukiwa na bwana yake alikuwa hapo.
According to friends, she had requested that they keep her condition private. Saturday night, and these questions grew louder after the singer's mother Joyce Mbugua did an online interview from Seattle, United States of America, with a TikTok personality. In it, she challenged accounts given by Betty's friend and husband.
My child died on date 10. I did not even have any prior information about her sickness. I only got to know she had leukemia a week before she died.
After Betty Bayo was pronounced dead, her mother said the family held a meeting in which they gave Betty's husband access to all her documents, including her identity card. However, following the burial, a scheduled meeting to discuss arrangements for the children to live with Betty's sister did not go as planned, as Betty's husband was absent.
I was so angry, I could not wait for nightfall. I called him and asked him why he had boycotted the meeting. Gitau said that whoever wants custody of the children should contest it in court.
Betty's mother has further hinted that she experienced marital difficulties.
She was being assaulted. She wrote a worrying text to me a week before she died, asking in whose hands I had left her.
She is now demanding for Betty's body to be exhumed and a post-mortem done so as to identify Betty's cause of death. She has further made it clear that her name should be written on Betty's estate, including the death certificate and burial permit, since Hiram Gitau was not officially married to her daughter. We reached out to Betty's husband Hiram Gitau, but he said that he had no comment to make.
Geri fotera sasa ni amusanene ko kuma hathini wa YouTube gikuria na gitio tukia wa subscribe go share na go comment kenda wa video ino na ndukariganirwo ni guturumirira thini wa TikTok na Facebook musanene ko ni titago musanene ki wiga tu.